Our number 4 team in the entire country is the Notre Dame Fighting Irish out of South Bend, Indiana. Notre Dame finishing last year at 11-2, going to the Fiesta Bowl and losing to Oklahoma State, the Cowboys. Brian Kelly says, "Deuces, I'm out." And for about 24 hours, maybe 48 hours, there was some question on who was going to be the Notre Dame coach. We all thought that it was a slam dunk hire. Notre Dame do the right thing, hire Marcus Freeman. Marcus Freeman is now the head coach over there, going from the defensive coordinator position. Notre Dame, a lot of talent on this roster as well, too. But they lose their top quarterback. They lose their leading rusher from last year. And they lose their best defensive player. They bring back some people that we really like. They have a really good linebacking core. Michael Mayer might be arguably the best tight end in the country. Him and Brock Bowers out of Georgia, that's 1-2, and it's kind of over who you have preference for. So talk to me a little bit, Fresh. Notre Dame, what are we to expect out of Marcus Freeman in year one?
Well, first off, Coach, don't poke the bear. And don't poke your alma mater either by talking about academics and all that stuff, because that's the last thing you want when you walk into the horseshoe against a team that is already very hungry for a title. So moving on from that, I think this defense is going to be elite, probably even better than last year, because you figure last year was Marcus Freeman's first year at the DC. So guys are even still trying to figure out how he's going to call a game. And he's also trying to figure out what guys he wants on the field at what time. The defense for Notre Dame got better as the year went on. But I think this year they're going to be better. Kyle Williams, obviously, he was hurt, so he didn't play the last couple of games of the season. So they had to start running guys in the rotation like Bertrand and others through the secondary. But I think Notre Dame, of all the transfers that happened, all the transfer market, I think Notre Dame got the biggest transfer of all. And that is going out and getting Brandon Joseph from Northwestern. So 2020 All-American at safety at Northwestern comes in now to be in that secondary, basically replaces Hamilton. Going to be a big, big player back there with Bertrand. And you get two safeties back there. You got a solid secondary. All those guys return. Notre Dame's always going to have defensive linemen and linebackers, athletes on the field, coaching to his philosophy. I think Freeman is going to have a real good job of getting the defense to be very cohesive and aggressive and be big-time difference makers. Expect to see them top 5 defensively for the entire season in points allowed, turnovers, and yards. I think this is going to be the real focal point for keeping them in football games. The offense, though, anything, you're going to need a quarterback. Last year, we saw Drew Pine play. He played in 2 games, really only the Cincinnati game, did not really shine that much at all. Tyler Butcher, number 2 leading rusher on the team, was also got some playing time at quarterback behind Jack Cohn. But Jack Cohn ended up playing the Fiesta Bowl. We could have thought, hey, you know what, Fiesta Bowl, how about you run with the young quarterbacks out there and let Cohn just chill? They went for the win. We're going to have to figure out which one of those guys is going to be your man. Kyron Williams is gone. I think Logan Diggs, Chris Tyree are going to be a little mix and mash there. Thunder and lightning aspect from the Notre Dame game offensively and running the football. Notre Dame is who they are. They're not going to be a 4 receiver spread offense chucking it around all the time. Like, that's not – they know they have to be to get that offense going. That's not traditionally who they are. They're going to be 2 tight ends. They are a tight end factory. They're an offensive line factory. They're going to run the football, play action, and play as a team. Use the offense to help set up the defense and vice versa. Don't try to score too fast and then have your defense get back on the field and become exhausted. Play with that team philosophy, and I think that's what we're going to keep doing. Run the football, use tight ends, use your elite offense. You recruit year in and year in and year in and develop and go from there. This team, everyone's seen the video. Once Freeman was announced as the head coach, the entire team erupted in the locker room. You don't see that if a new guy's hired. Like, the entire team wanted Freeman as the coach. So now you guys have to do the favor for him and actually play for him. You can have who you want as coach, but now you got to play for him and show up on game day. Interesting to see, though, who receivers will step up and make plays for this quarterback, whoever it's going to be. Will be Avery Davis. He's going to take the next level. Brandon Lindsay. Is he going to take the next level? I think this Notre Dame football team has a lot of talent cohesively and together. Which one of these guys is going to be that big playmaker that they can rely on in a late fourth quarter to get that big-time clutch catch? Who is going to show up in the game? Like, go back to the Cincinnati game last year. Who's going to be that one defender when Hamilton's not playing that's going to step up and make a huge stop in a game-changing play to reverse the course, to reverse the stem the tide? And then offensively, who's going to take over and put some points on the board when it needs to happen? Who's going to make that clutch third down catch? There's tons of talent on the team, but who's going to rise above and be that leader offensively or defensively to make those impact plays? I think that's the one thing we're really looking for, is who's going to be that impact player. You do return 10 of your top 12 tacklers, so you're going to have a lot of experience coming back, 5 return from that secondary. And then you bring in Joseph, obviously. So you're going to have very solid depth at that secondary position, which you're going to need right off the bat versus Ohio State, but you're going to need throughout the season, especially when they end it at USC. Recruiting, always going to bring in great players. I think they're going to just, they're more of a developed guys. You're not going to see many freshmen get on the field immediately. But under Freeman, you never know his philosophy is going to be. Like we mentioned earlier, they open at Ohio State. You bookend it with that, closing at USC. Your two biggest games of the season. It's a 5-game season of reality. Ohio State, North Carolina, BYU, Clemson, and USC. I think when the dust settles, they go 10-2, and their only losses are Ohio State and USC.
This is an interesting team here, Fresh. I really am really intrigued with what they're going to do on offense here. Any college coach would be excited to return all 5 of your offensive linemen. They're returning all 5 starters on the offense line. They may be the best unit in the country. They may be. I don't know if I haven't like looked up enough on their statistics. I saw their center Patterson on a couple of All-American watches. Looks like he might be a preseason All-American, but there's some serious talent on this offensive line, and that's going to make whoever's job at quarterback very easy. It's going to make Tyree's job at running back real easy as well. Like you said, you're going up against Ohio State. That's talent versus talent. They have the talent they can match up with you. You know, we're both pretty high on BYU this year. I think that's going to be a better game than people think, and I think Notre Dame is going to wipe the absolute floor with Clemson. The real interesting one is going to be that showdown in Los Angeles against USC. Is this defense going to be fully prepared for what could possibly be an amazing offensive attack? So it's like that unstoppable force versus the immovable object. Like, which one is going to be the one that gives on this one? For our buddy Lance, just because he always gave me a hard time about this, I still really like JD Bertram a lot. As he always said, yeah, he's a really nice player, but we never talked enough about Kyle Hamilton. But I still think Bertram's a great player. He was your leading tackler, 101 tackles. Coming back again, he looks like he's going to kind of be leading that defense. And there's talent there. And you already talked about the transfer Brandon Joseph there. I'm excited to see what Mayer does. I really am, because, you know, last year he had 840 yards receiving on 7 touchdowns there. If I recall, and again, Fresh, correct me if I'm wrong because I don't have it right in front of me, didn't he get hurt in a game or two? Didn't he battle some injuries where he like maybe missed the second half?
Mayer, he's dinged up here and there. I know it was one game versus Cincinnati, he got beat up. He got dinged up pretty good. Had to come out for a couple plays and come back. Being the only option, he still toughed it out and made some plays, big catches.
Yeah, and that's really the exciting thing when you have a guy like that who is just such a matchup problem. For you can't he's too fast for a linebacker and he's too big for a corner. What do you do? Like, how do you defend against a guy like that? I'm excited to see what he does there. It's interesting to see this Notre Dame team because you're right. I'm going 2 losses. I'm going 11-2 for this team. They're going to make another New Year's Day 6 game. I think though the most fascinating game, because again, obviously, folks, we know Ohio State, Notre Dame, interesting game. USC, Notre Dame, interesting game. That October 8th matchup versus BYU, that October 8th matchup, that's a fun one, man. That's one that I'm gonna get the popcorn ready for that one. If they can keep that defense near that 15th in the nation ranking, Notre Dame's gonna make some noise. I don't necessarily know if I can say that they're going to be a national title contender. I think this is going to be a very, very good team, but I think they're just going to be just on the slight outside looking in on the college football playoff.
I think one of the best things that happened to this football team, it's going to sound weird, but they had a huge lead versus Oklahoma State, and they were absolutely wiping the floor with them. Blowing that lead and losing gives Freeman a whole host of coaching points and bulletin board material for the entire offseason of, hey, you guys let us down in the second half. You guys didn't finish the football game. This and this and this, and keep repeating it in the weight room. Keep repeating it during the drill. Keep building their mind. Like, you had the football game blocked and you guys couldn't finish. And keep repeating that and building out that for motivation for the season, I think actually will do them more good than harm. If they won the game going away, whatever. What is, it's a great, you win a bowl game, but now having the entire summer and all spring and all fall camp, hearing that you had a huge chance to win and you still couldn't win a bowl game, how are you going to change that narrative? I think that's going to be helpful build recruiting and build into a new mindset for this football team under Coach Freeman.